Hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of Sensation Nation. As always, every week I deliver topics and guests that I think will be beneficial to all of our listeners. So as always, I have another exciting topic to talk about and another exciting guest to help me talk about it. So I love the subject of leadership, all aspects of leadership. I try my best to remain grounded every single day. And as we continue to progress in our personal and professional lives, we have to continuously make sure that we stay grounded. And I knew that I wanted to talk about grounded leadership at some point. And of course, I had to find the perfect person to talk about this topic to help me unpack it. And I couldn't think of anyone better than someone who is a grounded leader herself. She is a mom. She's a podcaster. She's a wife. She's a leader. I call her friend. I am wearing my Al Udeed shirt today because that's where we first started to interact with each other, working in a deployed location. So her name is Lieutenant Colonel Tamekia Payne. I call her T-Payne. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Lieutenant Colonel Tamekia Payne. T-Payne, welcome.
Hey, thank you. I'm so excited to do this. I remember the LUV 5K suit. I got like all my shirts in this treasure chest.
Oh, me too.
IUD.
Me too. I pulled this one out of the bin. I got a whole bin of 5K t-shirts. So first of all, how are you?
I am great. I'm great. How are you doing?
I am doing well. I'm doing extremely well today because we get to talk and we get to talk about leadership. And I think that's just a great thing.
Mm-hmm. Same.
So listen, before we begin, can you kind of tell us a little bit about your current role and responsibilities?
100%. So I'm currently assigned to the Pentagon, and I work in Air Force Family Care Division. Our primary responsibility is caring for families. We make sure that whatever airmen and guardians need for their families, that we have those programs in place. We're doing the policy writing. It's what I'm doing right now is policy writing for those families, just to make sure that whatever we are saying, we do for families, that we truly do it. I love my job right now. It's not dealing with people, which is what I love to do. But I like that I get to interact with some people that are pretty high up, in our Air Force industry. And I get to influence a little bit of how things shape out for the future.
Very good. You and I share that common interest. I like people too. And my current job doesn't necessarily truly allow me to deal with the people at the moment, but I have to remain grounded, which is what we're here talking about today. I have to remain grounded in the current position that we're in. And so I want to ask you, as we jump right into it, before we even talk about the leadership aspect of it, when you hear the word grounded and being grounded, what does that mean to you from your perspective?
Yeah, I think the most simplest definition of it is being planted, rooted, being secure in something that doesn't shake, that doesn't move, right? So it's making sure that wherever you find your true being, your true beliefs, your real self, wherever that is, that foundation is stable and it doesn't waver at all.
I like it. A solid foundation. That's what it means to be grounded. You hear people say, I'm going to hold my ground. I'm going to stand my ground. You're firm in it. So I appreciate you providing your perspective on what it means to be grounded. So I'm going to throw another one at you that was unplanned. So what does it mean when you hear the word leadership or to be a leader? What does that mean to you?
Man, that's like my favorite word, leadership. So to me, leadership is advocacy. It's advocacy and it's also mediating. So I think the more rank, position, responsibility you get, the more you should be advocating and mediating. And you're mediating between, because we're in a hierarchical organization, right? So you're mediating between the demand from the top and the needs of the people, right? And you're advocating up and you're advocating out always when you're leading.
Very good. And as I listen to you and I watch you on the screen, first of all, I'm hearing the words. You're saying some great things about being grounded, some great things about being a leader. And then I look at your shirt; it says "famous enough," and I think that is perfect for what we're talking about today. And so when we put those two things together, you talked about being grounded, you talked about leadership. So when you tie those things together, what does it mean from your perspective to be a grounded leader? And you're famous enough. You're exactly where you need to be.
Yeah, you got all you need to be right. So a grounded leader to me, when putting those two definitions together, is the person who is set on who they are, so then they can advocate for the people that they're responsible to. That's it. I think it's pretty it's as simple as that.
Yep.
And the really like dope part about it is when you are a grounded leader, you're super comfortable doing what you need to do for everybody else. So you pay those prices, and we'll probably talk about that. But that's what I think it is.
Okay. All right. So now we've talked about the definitions. We've kind of reverse engineered it. We let the people know what we think it means. And so now we need to talk about an example of both tied together. So from my perspective, you are a well-grounded leader. So the people probably want to know what keeps you grounded. What things do you do to make sure that you remain a grounded leader?
Yeah, thank you. I, what I do is I practice humility, right? Because we know that anybody who is climbing, anytime you're rising, the most critical thing you can have is humility, right? I remain confident in the things that I know I can do, but I remain humble to know that there's an aspect of it that I need to keep myself remembering that I'm not the best ever. You know, I'm not the greatest of all time. I'm a person doing the best I can with what I have and where I am. So my humility keeps me grounded. Yeah, constantly.
I like it. I like it. You remain humble. Humility. It is a key factor to have when it comes to being a leader. Unfortunately, not everyone has that, and we encounter people who call themselves leaders or maybe in leadership positions, and they may not necessarily have the humility. So we, as the people who may feel that we are a little more grounded and we are better leaders, we're going to encounter those people who may not be. And I think that's where humility really comes into play, because we have to be able to deal with those people and we have to remain grounded. So I know a little bit about you and I know a little bit about your background. And I think I know the answer to this question, whether it's spiritually related or not. I like to ask, is faith a huge part of you being grounded?
It absolutely is. Right. And I think that for my particular faith, I had to realize that everything costs, and I'm a beneficiary of everything that I have. And so that makes you put things in perspective and keep humble, because it's like whatever somebody thinks is great about you, I think I'm just managing the gifts that I've received, and people get to see different versions of it. And I get credit, for it. When they encounter with me, but really it's, these are gifts. I received some things and I manage them. And it's just a grace to do the things that I'm able to do.
I think part of being a grounded leader too is to be able to have some self-awareness alongside with that humility, and you got to have a little bit of emotional intelligence as well. So I think those factors actually tie into my next question for you. We've established what it means to be grounded. We've established what leadership is. We've established what a grounded leader is. We've established who a grounded leader is. And so now I have to ask you the question when it comes to just self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and things like that. How do you know when you're about to be ungrounded, if you will, or you're about to your foundation is about to shake a little bit, because we can have those solid foundations, but if we live somewhere in California or we get stationed at base X, literally and figuratively, and our foundation gets a little shaky, a little rocky, how do you know? What indicators do you pick up on to know that, hey, I'm about to become a little ungrounded and I need to fix it?
I think some things that when I know is I check my gratefulness meter. It's just a practice that I'm in, just naturally evaluating how grateful I've been to people in a way that they know it. Because I grew up in the South, so we always were told give them roses while they're living, and I evaluate and I see like, have I been grateful enough, outwardly grateful to people? And if I don't think I have, that's one of my indicators where I'm starting to just rely on myself so much. You know what I mean? I'm starting to forget that, hey, I'm a manager of these blessings and these gifts. Another thing is how I respond to compliments. I have to make sure that my response is adequate for that person to know that I appreciate what you just said and I'm thankful for it. But I have to make sure that what I internalize about those compliments doesn't make me inflate my ego, or I have to make sure that I'm reminding myself that that was an awesome compliment and that person's phenomenal for sharing it with me, but let me remember where the source of it all is. So I think I do some preventative things because I'm very careful. I just want to be really careful about staying in a place of being, secure in receiving instead of thinking that I'm the one that's like doing all this stuff.
Ooh, that's huge, man. That's powerful. That is powerful, and it's powerful because honestly, it's a great segue into the next question, because we've been talking about grounded leadership, and I've kind of been tying it into a foundation, and I think about a house being built, and you hear people all the time, and it's like, oh, a house is only as stable as its foundation, so on and so forth, and every now and then you might find a crack in there, and you have to have that self awareness to go, oh, there's a crack, I might need to fix it, right? I might need to repair this before it gets too far gone. The house could get shaky because the foundation can get shaky. And I watch a lot of YouTube videos just because I like to learn about random stupid things sometimes. But I see a lot of houses being built very quickly, unlike back in the day when people used to actually take the time and they had the masonries and they made sure the foundation was very solid. But I see a lot of fabricated houses now that are getting put up very quickly or whatnot. So with that, it may not necessarily be the right foundation. It's a quick foundation and it's solid for the time being, which brings me to my next question. How does one make sure that they're remaining grounded in the right things? Because we could be grounded, but we may be grounded in the wrong things. Some people may get grounded in compliments. It's like, I thrive off of compliments, or I thrive off of awards and trophies, or whatever it may be. How would you recommend someone make sure they stay grounded in the right things?
So I think that, man, those are some hard words, like the right things, and making sure you stay in that, because people want to define right depending on the situation. Right is right, no matter what the situation is. I think that something that we have to do if we want to stay in the right things is take the time to build a right foundation. And for me, the foundation comes through trial. It came through experiences. It came through evaluating other people's thoughts and what they said that I should believe and what they said that I should be. And I think that if you're a person who's constantly evaluating, then you can make those shifts before it causes, calamity, and you don't change what right is. Right might be unpopular, it might be hard, it might look different than somebody else's, but if it's right and you've taken the time to build a foundation on, one right after another right, then you have a foundation of rights. And you stick to it. You always go back to it and you trust it. After you build the foundation, you trust it.
I like that. I like that. I was listening to you talk, and I thought about someone that I recorded with the other day, and I brought up that whole debate that's been going on for who knows how long, whether leaders can be born or leadership can be learned, and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
And he put a spin on it for me, and he said, "Well, we're all born, aren't we?" And I was like, yeah. So if someone becomes a leader, then all leaders are born. So I was like, that is an interesting
Okay.
perspective, right? And so I think about what you said, and you talked about trials and experiences and things like that. And right is in the
Yeah.
eye of the beholder, essentially. So now we're talking about grounded leadership. Do you think being grounded is something that's inherent, or you're just born with it, or is it something that you can just learn over time? You can learn how to be grounded, or does people just come out of the womb and I'm grounded, I'm ready to go? What are your thoughts on that?
So I think either you are naturally grounded or life will ground you, because there's something about life that makes us all get in our place, right? If you start climbing and you think you're achieving certain levels, that outcome is there. But if you stay there, it depends on what it took for you to get there. So I think that there are definitely life experiences that are going to make us either stay grounded or we will get grounded. You know.
I don't know if you, I don't know if you caught what you just said, but there's something that's in our life that will make us stay grounded, or you're gonna get grounded. And what I hear was,
Yeah.
you better go sit down somewhere. That's what I just
Go
heard.
sit down somewhere because life will make you sit down somewhere. So I think it's kind of a selfish thing to be grounded because it's a preservation technique also, right? So um because if you do it on your own, like anything, if you manage it yourself, you can control some of the ways it goes. But if you just don't, then you're subject to however it comes to you, you know?
Yep, yep. One of the things you said was, life will sometimes put us in our place, and
Hmm.
oftentimes we hear, that phrase of "life is our greatest teacher" or whatnot. And sometimes we encounter trials and tribulations through life. There are certain things that I think that will try to hinder us from one becoming grounded, two remaining grounded. So, from your perspective and your experience, are there any barriers that prevents people from becoming or staying grounded? And if so, if some jump out at you, how do you overcome them?
And okay, this the first one that came to mind was success. Success is a barrier for you being grounded because if you don't check it, then you will start to climb on the high of success, and then life will ground you
Mm.
because you'll get further away from your foundation because you'll achieve something. I listen to a lot of Miles Monroe um, teachings from. He's a Bohemian pastor. He passed away, but like the wisdom and teachings he had, he was big on leadership, and he talked about that a little bit. He talked about whenever you have accomplished something, then immediately is the time for you to fall because you're on the high of it. You're excited about it, and people are coming. They're like, "Oh my gosh, you finished that marathon! You achieved this great! You did all that stuff." And if you're not careful, you don't put your guards back up. That got you to that place of success. So I think
Mm.
success is a barrier to groundedness if it's unchecked.
Ooh.
The other thing is pride. Like you can, having been in Squire North Command, right? I have seen the power of people's loyalty, and it's amazing. But if you are not grounded, you will lose it. And so I think that you can easily become prideful when there's a whole bunch of people who are like, "What do you want to do? I've already done it. Tell me something else you want me to do for you."
Yep.
And if you don't reel that in, then you will quickly get into a place of you've lost your footing, you're no longer grounded, and now you're somewhere where you're like, how did I get here? My morals have been, shifted, my ethics are not in check anymore. How did I get here? And then how do I get back? You know?
Mm. Success and pride. Two
Yeah.
big barriers to getting there, and remaining grounded. People,
Yeah.
you gotta watch out for it. You gotta look out for the indicators, because
Hmm.
it can actually sneak up on us and creep up on us before you know it. As you mentioned, you got people in your ear, and it can go either way. You can have people in one side going, "Hey, you're never gonna achieve anything further than this because I didn't," and that could kind of shake your foundation if you have certain
Yeah.
goals in your life and you're just like, I know I'm going to achieve this, but if someone's over here going, you probably won't because I didn't, that could probably shift you a little bit. That could hurt your pride.
Hmm.
That could limit your success. But on the other side, like to your point, if you've got someone saying, "Oh, you're great, you're going to go far, you're going to, do all these things and blah, 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 blah," that can actually elevate your pride. And now you're losing that humility that you talked about as well.
Yes.
And you just start to become arrogant and not even know it because you're getting all this level
Yeah.
of success and things like that. I
Hmm.
had a roommate once in training, and he was just one of those guys where everything just worked out for him first time. And I was constantly saying, "Man, that's awesome, man, great job, brother," stuff like that. But no one else was telling him. It was in the middle of because we shared a room, it was in the middle of the night one night, and I woke him up and I said, "Hey man, I need to tell you this." I said, "I am very happy for you, I'm very proud of you, but I hope that one day something doesn't go perfectly for you the way that you want it to, when you want it to, so you can actually experience what it's like to not have it happen to you when you want it to, and you'll actually have a greater appreciation." And he's like, "What do you mean? What are you trying to say?" It took a few
You woke me up to
years.
curse.
It's exactly. You woke me up for this, it took a few years for him to realize, like, I hear what you were trying to tell me, right? Because
Hmm.
you have to have that type of experience to understand and appreciate,
Yeah.
where you are in life for sure.
Yeah.
So
I think the hardship and makes your foundation, right?
yes.
As a parent, we practice hardship for our kids because they didn't have to go through some things we went through, right? And
Hmm.
we find ourselves like, how do we make this a little bit harder for them? Because they need to know how to endure. They need to know how to pull something out of themselves. They need to know that it costs to be the thing they want to be is going to cost, and they got to pay. You have to build on those hurts and pains and blisters. I just heard this pastor say this. He said that everybody looks for the crown, but nobody looks for the scars.
Mm.
And he said, if you see a person with a crown, look to see if they also have the scars.
Wow.
And and that has been sitting with me for months because it's applicable in so many places. Like, did you earn where you are? Have you done what it takes to stay where you are? Because that foundation is so built on all these things that have happened and all the price you paid to be there.
Wow, what that pastor said was huge, right? And it makes you
Hmm.
look beyond the surface level of what you see. And
Yeah.
now you got me thinking about some of the people that I've seen wearing crowns, and right, and it's like
Yes.
we admire and we honor the crowns when we see it. It's just like if you see a nice fancy car ride by, you're like, "Man, that's nice," right? You see
Yeah.
these leaders wearing these crowns, but it makes me want to stop and look back and reflect, and also as I look forward, to ask myself, does that person have the scars to go with it? Because
Right.
similarly, I've heard that it's difficult to make a great leader that hasn't been through something. Like,
Yeah.
you have to
Yeah.
have been through something. Have you met any leaders, as you think back about your career or think on your career, that are wearing the shiny crown that you know for a fact did not bear the scars that warranted it?
That's hard, right? Because you don't really know what it took somebody to get where they are. I can say that I know I've worked for and been around leaders who I think abused their crown and maybe forgot their stars. We were lieutenants, and there was this colonel who like had a beef with lieutenant, and it baffled me because I'm like, you used to be one, so what's your beef? Right. So I'm like, that's an example. Like, you forgot your scars. You
Hmm.
forgot how you felt when you were just a lieutenant, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
now you're this, you're a big deal and you forgot because you
Oh
got your
gosh.
crown, but you forgot. Or even when I've had another experience with a boss who was top dog, right? Had a crown, but when it came to address the scars of other people, had no relevance. He had no point. He had no connecting point to those scars of those people because those weren't his same scars,
Mm,
right? And
mm.
so I think that it's hard to say, and I try to give people the credit. Like I think promotion comes from above, right? It comes from God. So I try to never say anything about where people are, because it's not my business.
Right,
But
right.
I do recognize, and I can recognize when you're abusing your crown and you forgot about the
That's right.
stars. Like that's evident.
That's awesome. I tend to talk in similes, metaphors, and analogies, and I like
Yes, you do.
the fact that this crown conversation came about. It helps people visualize and picture things and things
Yeah.
like that. So I'm glad with the direction that it went into.
Yeah.
Before we end, I want to offer an opportunity for you to offer any type of advice, any recommendations for people preparing for future leadership roles, people that might be struggling with, being grounded, remaining grounded, things like that. What do you want to leave us with?
So a story, right? So once upon a time, I was like a major, brand new major. I was at home and I walked by the TV, and this lady was on the TV, and it was some TV show, a sitcom. The lady was like, "Okay, I'm gonna go up to Wendy's and get everybody something to eat." And she gets to the drive-through and she's like ordering all this like very specific things, like, okay, my husband, he's want like a number three, but put the cheese a certain way, and like put this, the pickles on the side, and then my son, you make this drink, put, a fourth of a cup of ice, because he don't like all that ice in this drink. And she went down the line of everybody in the house. And then the lady on the drive-through, she said, "What can I get for you?" And the lady who was placing the orders, she said, "I don't know." That doesn't seem like a big deal, but for me, that was a huge deal. And I stared at that. I started crying at a sitcom. I'm just staring. And my husband's like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "I'm that lady. I know everything about everybody else, but I don't know about me. Like, what do I want to like? What kind of person am I? Or what do I think should be my limitations? Or like, who am I
Hmm.
as a person?" And so it would happen that right after that, I started learning about myself. And I think every leader should take the time. It took me 3 years to really learn me, because for all those years, I had been who people expected me to be. I was
Hmm.
always told, "You're going to be great. You're the one that's going to make it." I've always received that. And so I'm like, "All right, what's that mean to you?" "Oh, that means straight A's. Oh, that means commissioning. Oh, that means running. What does that mean to you? Let me do that, because I don't want to disappoint." But I didn't have that for myself.
Hmm.
So I took the time to study me. I have a notebook about myself. And I'm like, this is what I actually don't like. And this is what I actually believe about this concept. And that, along with the deployment that we met on. So when you met me, I was on that journey of learning about myself. So I spent a lot of time with me. Every time we got off work, it was rare that I was hanging out randomly, because I was using that time to study, to be prepared. Like, who are you?
Hmm.
And then it culminated. I went to Squadron Command after that deployment, and Global Strike had a study Brene Brown, and we spent the week on Dare to Lead. And that was like the culmination of those 2 years before of me learning myself. Then I really had vocabulary to it. And so from that point on, I'm like, no, this is me. And I know what to say no to. I know what you think is an opportunity. I'm not going to apply for it because that's not for me. I know how to say, I'm uncomfortable with these things. Or, hey, I really like these things. And that has shaped me so well in every area of my life. So my one thing of advice for leaders is take the time to really study yourself, know yourself so well that nobody else can define it for you.
Wow. Wow. That's huge. I'm going to tell you that is the second time. Yours is the second. The second time this week that getting to know yourself has jumped out at me. I'm reading a book by someone that I interviewed on a podcast in a different season, Dr. Colonel Stephanie Wilson. She doesn't like the doctor, but I'll use it anyway. But
She earned it.
She actually earned it. She's got a book out there, Volume 1. It's called Leadership Bites, Bites. And in one of the chapters, she ends by asking the question from a leadership perspective. She poses the question, who are you? And there's 2 blank pages for you to write down who you are and what makes you you. And so I appreciate you sharing that perspective and that last minute of advice to kind of end people on a good note, to just continue to be better, grounded leaders. And I think that's huge. Now,
that's awesome.
Before I let you go, I have to end with my fun game of what do you prefer. It is a 10-question round of what do you prefer that you are not prepared for. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. Question number 1. Win the lottery or land your dream job?
Land my dream job.
Okay. Number 2. Test the waters or dive in the deep end?
Dive in the deep end.
Okay. Number 3. Glass half full or glass half empty?
Half full.
Half full. Number 4. Ketchup or ranch?
Ew. Oh gosh. They're both gross. Ranch, because it can come in like the seasoning packet. I can put it in some other stuff, I guess.
I'm getting the feeling that you're not big on condiments, and that's okay, because you know who you are.
I know who I am. I like real food, real taste.
Number 5, night or morning?
Oh, morning.
Okay. Number 6, passenger or driver?
Driver.
Driver. Oh, that's surprising. You know, I'd rather be a passenger, and my wife would rather be a passenger too, and that doesn't always work out so well.
I'll come pick y'all up then.
Number 7, city or countryside?
Country.
Country. Number 8, would you rather lose sleep or skip a meal?
Skip a meal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 9, shopping online or shopping in the store?
I hate shopping. Online.
Online. And last but not least, number 10, start work late or leave work early?
Leave work early.
Leave work early. More time with the family.
Yes.
Awesome. Hey, listen, thanks for playing the What Do You Prefer game, but more importantly,
I like that game.
Yeah, but the most important piece for me is thank you for taking some time out of your busy day. I know, again, that you have a lot of things that are going on in your personal, professional lives, that life that you keep afloat. Because you are a grounded leader, you're able to do so. So I appreciate you for coming on. I know you invited me on your podcast, or allowed me to come onto your podcast, Cadence Convos, a while back. So I wanted to make sure I return the favor, and I thank you for your time, for coming on to share your wisdom and your experience.
Yeah, thank you. I love what you're doing. I'm a fan of you and your wife, the doctor. I appreciate being able to be up here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you learned something from this episode, how to be a grounded leader, how to stay a grounded leader, having some humility, just making sure that you don't let your pride and success get in the way of you reaching greater heights. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, on Sensation Nation, I'm out.